Welcome to Christian Statesman. I'm your host, Zach Wagner, and this is episode 67, Evidence Mounts Against Biden. One of my favorite lines among friends and colleagues alike is, if you feel like you are living in the twilight zone, it is probably because you are. The Biden presidency has a very twilight zone feeling to it. Perhaps the negligence of no forthcoming State of the Union address might be a clue for some. But a lack of communication, lack of press accessibility, and a general overall non-engagement strategy by Biden himself seems a bit out of place. We are now seeing evidence it is much worse than that. Just how real is the Biden presidency? Let us not make this particular point about the veracity of the election. That is a whole subject unto itself. What we are referring to specifically is the question of whether Biden is functional in his office or whether he is even there at all. As Mike Adams humorously stated, we may have a weekend at Bernie's presidency. On Sunday, I had a rather surreal experience. My wife and I were watching the Greg Gutfeld show on Fox News. We appreciate, at times anyway, Gutfeld's irreverent and humorous take on things. In one segment, he ran a CNN clip of Biden supposedly on the lawn of the White House refusing to make any definitive statement on the philandering of Governor Andrew Cuomo. As the camera footage followed Biden across the lawn, there were trees and a large elevated hill covered with tan winter grass in the background. I jumped out of my chair. What the heck? Where in Washington, D.C. do they have elevated knolls like that? I backed the footage up and nudged my wife. Watch this with me, I implored. Are you seeing what I am seeing? She acknowledged the curious landscape. The footage was obviously not shot in Washington, and the editing error was readily apparent. The next day I looked at some internet postings of the Gutfeld show, and the footage was curiously edited out of the subsequent online videos. I then researched competing channels' coverage of the same footage, and they showed a standard D.C. city background on the horizon. Very curious. I had heard, through other independent channels, such as Simon Parks, that Biden was not allowed in the White House and was working out of a set in the West. This experience made a very bold statement supporting that premise. Wherever this was shot, it was obviously made to look like Washington on most feeds. The editing error showing a different locale, visible for a brief moment, was quickly scrubbed. Then we get Pixelated Joe during the coverage on visiting the border. As supposed reporters asked the questions, strange video overlays followed. Not only is the entire image of Biden on a green screen background, the editing errors of the positions of microphones in Biden's hands reveals the whole incident is a deep fake. A link to this specific footage, which has now gone viral, is in the description box below. So the obvious question to the trained observer is simply this: what in heaven's name is going on here? Is Biden at the helm, or is he even functional at all? Some would question whether he is even alive or represented by carefully coiffed doubles. One fact seems painfully obvious. Whatever the reality of the situation, it is clear that Biden is not in charge or in control of anything. And that begs the further question: if he is not in control, who is? The recent summit with Biden staffers and a Chinese delegation in Alaska reflects the dire nature of this situation. The Chinese showed no respect for the Biden team, throwing their racist America tropes back in their face. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin has taken umbrage at Biden's comments and challenged him to an international debate over which administration is more virtuous for their people. What do you think the odds are in Vegas of Biden picking up on that challenge? Our enemies are sharpening their knives and salivating at the prospect of a rudderless American government. The bottom line here is that the evidence points loudly to the fact there is no one currently at the helm. At least no one who is elected, either fairly or not. It is also plain that Biden's press events are being conducted on a computer, not in person. The Truman Show-like faux reality being broadcast across every mainstream channel is certainly not sustainable. It is hard to keep a lie going indefinitely, particularly a lie as big as this. What is the agenda? Who is pulling the strings behind the scenes? Why are we being given numerous fake sound bites of an artificial president? What is the end game here? Whatever it is, you can bet it will not be for the benefit of the average American. Something insidious is afoot, and it is becoming ever more difficult to sustain any semblance of normality. How long before the lie and all of the fallout from the lie comes crashing down? While we may hope for some sort of resolution, we should probably prepare for the worst. Thanks for being with us today. Please subscribe, tell your friends, and as always, have a blessed day.